Turn it off. Hello, guys. How are we? We're just going to fix up the light here. Maybe throw up a bit more. How are we? It's November, and welcome to, I think, our very, very last, I think maybe even if we turn that TV off, it's a lot of Travis in that and a lot of Kylie. Maybe we'll give that a crack. Might fix up the light a little bit. Hey, guys, welcome to the last hug for 2021. I am Trav, and today we're going to talk all things buyer personas. So that is way better. You can sort of see the room as well. So today we often get this question thrown at us a lot of times when we sort of work within HubSpot infrastructure or ecosystem, if you will, is the personas. What's the, am I doing it wrong? Today I want to go through the process that we go through here at Neighbourhood to go through and identify who our personas are. It's important to so I guess sort of keep top of mind as well that buyer personas are an evolving thing for a business. As your business evolves, your services and products will evolve through time. So it's really important that, and I think I've got a slide in it here somewhere that says that you're not going to get it right the first time, but consistency will get you better to understand your customer as your business starts to evolve. So yeah, so that's something to look forward to. A little bit of housekeeping before I do get stuck away. We do have Cam here. Cam is our brand spanking new. You're probably seeing the reflection behind there somewhere. There it is. So he's our brand new marketing coordinator here at Neighbourhood, and he will be the one that will be manning the chat. So if there are any questions, I think Cam can open up the Q&A now, which is pretty good. So at the very top, if you click on chat, you'll see a Q&A area. In that Q&A area, if you've got a question that you just want answered, make sure you head into that Q&A area, write the question, and when we come along to it, we'll go through and make sure we get that question answered. That being said as well, we've got a general chat area that everybody can go ahead and just write whatever they want in there as well. Just be mindful if the chat is going quite fast and you do ask a question there, it might get missed. So that's why that Q&A area is up there as well. This today will go for about 1 hour or so, maybe give or take a couple of minutes or whatnot. So, and then what I hope to get out of it is get you guys in a position where you know how to run your own buyer persona workshop internally. You know what questions to ask and you know how to execute them and what cadence to do that as well. So I'm going to share my screen. Here we go. Maybe before we get started, just to get the chat bot like oiled up and running, is there a chance that anyone could just tell us where they're from, maybe city, town, company, and just throw it in the chat? Cam, you can start just by getting the wheels all greased up for everybody. Where are we all from? Or am I just on a tab while you're doing work? Sydney. Is that Lauren? Hello, Lauren. Rob, nice to meet you. Doran, Kim, Nicole and Daniel. No pressure, Kylie. Barna, Sarah from Brisbane, Vegas. A lot of Brisbane people here. Hi, Kim from Perth. And Lauren from Sydney. Nice. Who else we got? Old Mitch. Thanks, Mitch. Nice to meet you as well. We usually have a bunch of people flow in throughout the day as well. So what we will do is we will get cracking on. So I am very, very, very lucky. I'm just going to move this tab onto this side just so I can see everything a little bit better. So I'm very lucky today. I'm joined by Kylie Johansson. She's actually the head of growth at MaxContacts. Now, we were very, very, very lucky to be working with MaxContacts recently, of which they adopted the HubSpot ecosystem. But also, I think we recently implemented the buyer persona framework within their business. So what I wanted to do today is a little bit different, where we usually get some experts on and people that have been doing it for years and years and years. I wanted to bring somebody on that had just basically rolled it out within their own business and basically talking about how that's affected them in a short term on basically executing it properly. So we're very, very, very lucky to have Kylie. And what I'm going to try and do is see if I can't I feel like my dad trying to work an iPhone here at the moment. I'm going to set as presentator mode on, and hopefully Kylie should pop up any second. If you've got a little thing down there, Kylie, just push OK. And then hope it. Here she comes. 1 second. Cool. While she's doing that, and hopefully her face will pop up shortly, we'll go through. So, hey Kylie, how are you?
Hello, I'm good. Hi, everyone.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Well, it's a pleasure.
Well, hopefully you got all that. So we're going to go through, I guess, buyer personas, but I think kind of what, as I mentioned at the end there, I'll be able to sort of ask you a few questions about recently implementing buyer personas and kind of what you've experienced and if there's been any changes. I'm really excited because I know usually people tie buyer personas to marketers, but obviously you're in the sales seat, but you're kind of in the marketing sales seat. So I'm kind of really interested to sort of see how that's changed your perception of selling or marketing. And so, yeah, that's great to have you.
Thank you.
That's all right. So today we're going to build buyer personas from scratch with the help of Kylie, hopefully, with her newfound skills, why they're imperative for contextual marketing, and then when and how you can use these for effective marketing as well. I will sort of start diving into effective marketing, sales and service as well. So I'll probably expand on that a little bit more. What I'm going to do today as well is I'm going to give you some buyer persona templates and links to online buyer persona builders as well. It's all good and well throwing these ideas and methodologies out to you about sort of creating them, but if you don't have the tools to execute them or a little bit of guidance, then it's going to be pretty tough for you. So Cam will throw that in the chat box closer to the towards the end of the chat as well. And introductions, Kylie, as I've just sort of introduced you again for the second time. I left a dash there because I was meant to reach out to you to find out a fun fact, but you can probably tell us live. Kylie, do you want to tell us a little bit about who you are, your role at MaxContact, and how you got to where you are today?
Yes. Thanks, Trav. So I've had probably about 25 years experience now with sales and marketing, mostly working with small to medium-sized organizations. A lot from startup to developed organizations. So I started with MaxContact 6 months ago now. And when I started, I was like, MaxContact, what's a dialer? I didn't know what a dialer was. I was like, what's a dialer? Who uses a dialer? So it really was an exercise for me to really identify our customers, who they were. And part of that process and why I think it's so important was we used that buyer persona workshop to really hone in and identify who our customers were, why they used us, and why we were better than our competitors in the market. So we are a small team, so we have limited resources. So by going through this process as well, we were able to really focus our energy and our resources on that ideal client. So that was really helpful through this whole process. You're muted. You have to unmute yourself, Trav.
I am genuinely acting like my dad with an eye. Yeah, that's awesome. And what I'll probably dive into after this is we'll dive into the specifics of kind of like what we did, how we went through the persona workshop, and potentially before state, and then potentially the future state of where it is today, and potentially what that looks like for the future as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. Then there's me as well. P.S. You didn't tell us your secret, your party trick.
My party trick.
Anything.
To embarrass my kids, I suppose, as much as possible.
Yeah. And it's funny because
that's my goal in life.
I didn't give you a heads up on this at all as well. So it's like, what was the party trick?
Just to embarrass my kids as much as possible.
That's fair enough. That's fair enough. Next time I'll give you a heads up on that.
Yeah.
And then there's myself as well. So I've been a HubSpot partner for about 5 years. I head up all the new business, like Kylie as well. We're a very small business as well. We've been implementing personas for about 4.5 years, twice a year for ourselves. Now we've moved to once a year at the end of the year. Been in sales and marketing for 17 years. That's quite a scary number. And I can whistle with every finger on my hands, including single digits. So that's my little party trick as well. I might even do it for everybody at the end of as that little bait thing that everyone can hold on to. I will say at any point, please get really chatty in the chat box. I prefer it if people like interrupt me and throw a question up. that's where people are going to get the most value out of this as well. So if you've got a question, hit the Q&A and throw a question there, or if not, just send your thoughts, or if you've implemented something similar and you kind of want to give your thoughts and suggestions around that, feel free to get as talkative as possible in the chat box, because it will help others that are in here as well, probably not necessarily confident to write in that chat box as well. So how I kind of wanted to kick things off was talking about your journey, Kylie, if that's all good. So I know that you touched on very briefly, sort of been with MaxContact for, 6 months. Are you able to let everyone know kind of like what MaxContact is and breaking down how you guys help your customers?
Yeah, so MaxContact is a cloud-based dialing system, or a cloud-based call center software. So we do outbound and inbound calls. So we help with call centers or sales teams to connect with their clients or prospects through a software program. So it can be through voice, through SMS, web chat, emails, and the agent or the employee within the organization or the sales member actually accesses all those interactions on the one screen. So when I first started, I didn't know what a dialer was. So as I said, it was a journey for the first month to identify what type of organizations would use a dialer. And we identified that it is result-driven call centers or sales teams. So when we looked at how do we develop our buyer personas, it was more relevant for us to look at industries, because it is a result-driven, software program. So we looked at fundraising, because they raise revenue through campaigns. It was debt collecting, because they collect money through campaigns. It's appointment setting organizations like financial planners, mortgage brokers. So it's that auto dialer behind the software that connects through the dialing system. And then it's all the data that the MaxContact stores on our database to be able to interact with those people. So when we were identifying our buyer personas, we really drilled into what industries would get the maximum benefit, or who had the need that we then met. And we then identified, and we're very clear with, the fundraising, the debt collectors, the mortgage brokers, all those very result-driven sales teams.
And I think, so you sort of mentioned your fundraisers and things like that, and it might be hard to share because it's sort of only been 6 months, but beforehand, was there a clear idea of who the customers were before you went there, or was it sort of an unspoken thing that, we've got a few people here and there? Was it really sort of cemented on really clearly who, uses the platform itself?
Well, we've been very successful in the UK for a number of years. So we would use that as a case study, obviously, about what was successful in the UK. Bringing it into Australia only probably 4 or 5 years ago, Dan and Kevin's main priority was to introduce MaxContact into the Australian market and start getting those connections in the industry. So they did very well with that, but it was more of a general approach to the industry rather than a targeted marketing approach. So I started as head of growth 6 months ago, and that's when we looked at how do we focus that marketing strategy to really identify who our key targets were, or our key channels, and then how do we then identify the buying behavior of each of those channels. What are they looking for? What do we do well over our competitors? Let's speak their language. So, for example, the last 6 months, we've immersed ourselves in the fundraising industry. So by really focusing on that persona, we are in LinkedIn groups. I've connected with thousands of people on LinkedIn. We're now sponsoring the Fundraising Association conference. So we are in the face of about 1,000 fundraisers. Every day they're going to come across MaxContact. So it's that brand awareness, but we're also really addressing some of the concerns within the industry. So the fundraising industry will have their own challenges, And then we target our offering to meet those specific challenges. So we're speaking directly to that fundraising manager, and we have a clear understanding of exactly the challenges that they're facing. I talk to fundraising managers day in, day out, and now I understand their industry and their pain points, and I can now very easily create a product to meet what they're looking for rather than just a blanket approach.
So you sort of mentioned, like, let's just say fundraising, for example. So you're like obviously creating content now that like speaks about not only fundraising, but the common problems that they have. But now you're kind of, I don't know, is it making it easier to market and sell? Like, and is the conversion being a whole lot easier? What's that changed with you?
Yes. So now with MaxContact, it is actually a tailored solution. So I'm thankful that we're able to go, fundraising needs to have certain functionality. So not only are they connecting with the donor via voice, text message, email, social media, but a lot of the time they'll need to process payments. So we add that functionality into the call flow. So with fundraising, we're able to create that specific, I suppose, product to meet what their function is. So fundraising, they'll take donations over the phone. Are they a regular giver? They'll send out welcome packs. So the actual demo that we run through when we're running through the demo is tailored to all their language, all the functionality that they need. And majority of the time, once you do a demo, they're like, yeah, because they can relate. They're like, oh, I didn't know we could do that. Yeah, I need that. Oh, we don't do that now. So in using that sort of, I suppose, industry knowledge, we can also assist them on how to increase their conversion. So we're also helping them on a strategy level going, well, we kind of know what everyone else is doing in the industry. Are you keeping up with what everyone else is doing? Right. We sort of lead that especially with the technology evolving so quickly. So even if we wanted to swap to another industry, so mortgage brokers or financial planners, different mentality altogether, and they're all very, let's get the appointments booked. You know, I need an appointment to go through your mortgage to see whether you qualify to get remortgaged. So we created a qualifying calculator. So all the agent needs to do is ask how much equity they've got in their house, how much expenses, how much income they've got, put the details straight into the screen, and it pops out whether they qualify or not. So the product is built around what their needs are. So having those buyer personas has really helped us tailor that product.
I'll touch on it a little bit in a little bit, but we will touch on negative personas and something that we will sort of go through in just a little bit. But have you identified a negative persona for MaxContact? And if so, if so, what does that look like for you, and how has that sort of changed the way that you might sell? Like, are you aware of people that might necessarily not meet the criteria early on in the piece, so therefore you probably got more time on your hands? How's that worked through your marketing and sales process?
Yeah, so basically we have set some very strict guidelines. So we have to have a minimum of 6 licenses, for example. So we were getting, I suppose, a lot of inquiries with smaller organizations. There might be 1 or 2 people looking to do a marketing campaign and need a dialer. So automatically they just don't qualify for Max. I'll just say, go and use, and I'll even recommend one of our competitors that, at that smaller end, don't provide all the functionality, but they're just not there yet. And I say, you know what, go and use this product. And when you grow your business to 6 people, come and speak to me, and they actually appreciate the honesty to say, hey, our product's not going to meet your needs. Here's someone who can meet those needs, and I'll forward that on. And we've actually had people come back. We had one yesterday, turn around and go, Kylie, now I've got 6 people. Sign me up. And because they remember how honest I am. I'm not trying to sell them something. I'm quite open. So I suppose it's saved us a lot of time, wasted time, going through demos when they don't meet the requirements. And even sometimes we turn around and we've had a client say, oh, but we want this well, we want this, this, and this. And I go, well, no, here are our boundaries. This is what we know works. So if you want to work with us, and I kind of flip it a little bit to go, we are the best products. So, and rather than kind of wasting your energy with tire kickers, and you kind of like, no, I know we're the best. And if you want us, you'll come on board, So just to be
I agree with you that I think when we go through the process of buyer personas, you truly at core understand the challenges and what they're trying to overcome. Like if you, and maybe you agree, maybe you're not maybe I don't think you're as bad as I was, but like back in the day in my sales role, like I would just try and sell no matter what. Like that person has a beating heart, let's sell them. Like, and you'd be chasing people.
Sell to anyone.
Yeah, and and I wasted a lot of the time. Like me, I mean, too old, but I'm not that young either. I'm sort of in that middle range. But me looking back now, if I did the personas, I think back then I definitely would have been like, look, you know what, I'm less about selling and more about helping. Like, hey, have you got this? Or here's some sales and admin tools. Here's a document that might help you out. And when you're ready, just come and see me, and that's going to be all good. Because maybe that person isn't ready right yet, and it's just going to like exert a lot of energy to try and get that person at the wrong time. And I think sounds like you're kind of going through that same thing where you're like, come back later, and then they end up coming back and telling them to you.
When you go through that buyer persona workshop and identifying who that person is, it's really good when you find that person and you're like, and you're confident that you can help because you've identified how you can help. And that shines through, I think, in the sales process. And to be that focused is to go, this is the problem we're solving and you need us because of this reason. People are, oh, okay, I'll come along for the ride, So, but our conversions have really great conversions. So, which is fantastic. So
I'll let Geordie know.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't a part of the process you went through. Can you tell everybody some of the steps, like things written here, like how did you collect the data on the customers and get a good idea about who's who? What was that process very broadly?
Yeah, so Geordie created some questionnaires for us, and we sent those out to our current customers, but we also sent them out to those people who didn't become our customers for whatever reason. But that's just as important because we needed to understand where we fell short within that, whether it was the sales process, whether it was the product, so that we could then evolve and change either the product or our processes. So that was really important. Also internally, like we have a wealth of knowledge internally with Dan and Kevin at the time. So Kevin's been in the industry for a long time. And then we also went over to a UK client. So we've got a solid database of clients over there. I suppose the most important step, as you said, it's an evolving process. And that, I mean, we only did this a few months ago. So we're focusing on, fundraising, mortgage, financial brokers, debt collectors, that type of thing. But we hope, and I think the next step will be going out to the associations, like the call center association, the fundraising association, the financial planners association, and getting a broader understanding of the market and the challenges that each of those associations. So, they all do benchmarking reports and they all do this, but let's use those that knowledge, I suppose, and that experience within the association to evolve our buyer personas and go directly to the source.
I think the big thing, and I mean, we spoke months ago and a little bit the other day and a bit today. I think the biggest part I can see for you is that you've become so much about what you sell. I don't know, it just comes off literally like night and day. Like you could, if I'm that perfect persona, you would just sell me in a second because that I think it's 50%, like half of it's confidence. Like you're just so confident in your product and you believe in it because the persona is the right place at the right time. We had a question here that says, Kylie, you mentioned being on LinkedIn groups. Did your buyer personas help you uncover this area and what other channels, socials or not, could best reach your customers? That was from Amanda.
So At the moment, we're running a number of social media strategies. LinkedIn is probably the most effective for us, being a B2B call center, very specific product targeting specific. So call center manager, fundraising manager. So we're able to do LinkedIn. We're doing webinars, so little demos, and we're using LinkedIn to push those demos through to specific titles within LinkedIn. So it's very targeted. So we're not wasting money blanketing. Who wants to know about a dialer unless you're in the industry, to be honest? So so we're being very specific with LinkedIn. I think it's a little bit more expensive, but I think that it is very powerful. We have Neighbourhood creating some fantastic social media adverts that we're pushing through Facebook and also LinkedIn. Daniel and I are actively on LinkedIn, and we've just signed up to, I've only just started using LinkedIn Navigator, Sales Navigator.
Sales Navigator, yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. So I don't have to waste time going, oh, who's in my feed that I need to connect with? You create a list of all the industry-based and then fundraising manager, and it'll pick up everything that they post. And then I just go in and at night time and have a little chat to people in the industry, go to the event, that type of thing. So,
completely off topic, have you installed the Navigator plugin to HubSpot, which basically brings all the contact details into HubSpot?
No, I haven't done that yet.
We'll talk about that later.
I haven't done that yet. All these little wow things that you just go, oh, I didn't know it could do that. Yeah.
I'd be interested to hear from Dan as well. I know he's listening, hopefully there, to see if it's changed his perception a little bit. I know Kylie's in the sales seat, but I know Dan's kind of running one of the directors there as well. So I'd be interested to see if that's changed his perspective. No pressure on Dan now. He's on stage. Just to see if it's changed his.
He can always put a comment in the Q&A.
Yeah, I could put him as a presenter actually and just turn his.
Oh, there you go. Oh, you better not do that. He just got back from Hamilton Island. I don't think he's in the mode yet.
Cool. Well, taking all of that stuff that you spoke about, what I kind of wanted to do was run through kind of what we did with Kylie a little bit. And Kylie, if it's okay, I might just keep you on there, and I might throw back to you to sort of see if that's something that your comments on that specific process as well. Yep. So we'll step through here, and again, if anyone's got any questions for Kylie and basically her process on going through the whole process of buyer personas, please write in the Q&A. We've got some questions coming through as well. So now the bit that I'm going to talk. Here we go. Strap yourself in, guys. So I guess hopefully the people that are attending today have somewhat been a little bit exposed to buyer personas in some way, shape or form. Now, for those playing at home, and if you've definitely never been touched a buyer persona in or whatever, it's a fictionalized or generalized representation of your ideal customers that will help you understand your customers and prospective customers better, and to make it easier for them to tailor content to the specific needs, behaviors. I'll talk about behaviors in just a second, and concerns of different groups. The strongest buyer personas are based on market research as well as insights you gather from your actual customer base through surveys, interviews, customer data, just like Kylie said. Depending on your business, you can have a few personas or a lot of specialized personas. You can always develop more later. And I will sort of touch on that a little bit about continually improving. Don't feel like in the first instance, and I'll talk about this in a bit as well, don't feel like you have to nail it all in one hit. I think one step ahead of where you are currently is better than where you were before. So I think definitely it's an evolving product. We've got ahead and we were doing it every 6 months. We're now doing it every year, and it's changing. We've got a brand new persona, well, hopefully, maybe, just in time, but might have a new persona this year that has evolved as our business has evolved as well. There's a few things I'd like to talk about as well. Now, in the biz, if you want to call it, there is a buyer persona and a buyer profile. Now, a lot of the issues that we get along the way are people says, you know what, it's a big company, 60 people that have $40 million in revenue turnover. That isn't a buyer persona. It's really important to state that a buyer persona is a buying behavior of someone purchasing your product or services. A buyer profile is the company that those guys work in. So don't get that mixed up too much in saying that our persona is a certain company. It's the person, because the person can bounce around to different companies. There's the role that they've got in there as well. So, for example, I know that Kylie, you kind of really did gravitate a little bit around the fundraising and the industry per se. Because that's what basically behaviors. Ours is the job role. So, and it can differ from all different types of people across all different types of businesses. A marketing manager in our role and a sales manager, as opposed from a general manager or a founder, all have different sort of objectives. A marketing manager for us wants to make sure they impress the boss and they get the job done. The founder and the managing directors in some way, shape or form are a little bit more commercial about it, and they probably are a little bit more firm up, less around the fuzzy wuzzies and impressing, more about the numbers and straight direct instead of all that sort of fluffy stuff. Just an example of how we work around those buyer personas. Our buyer profile, businesses that are sort of over $1 million with 2 salespeople and no marketing or anything like that. That's perfect for us. That's where we give a lot of value. So it's important to note that a buyer persona and a buyer are very different things, and buyer personas can live in all the different types of buyer profiles. So mixed up, I thought I'd mention that because I was talking to Olivia in the office here just before and was talking through it. I will say that it will never be perfect. Continually improve your personas and you'll get there. Again, when we first started, and if you're in this journey of going ahead and creating personas, I recommend every 6 months, mark it in your diary for half a day, go through and follow this same process over and over and over again. I'll tell you what, they will change. They will change if you first implement, they will change 3 or 4 times in the first year or 2. And then as you go through, I suggest after the sort of 24 months, do it every single 1 year. And then that way you're continually understanding your buyers or the personas within your business. I'm going to paraphrase this very hard, but the use of personas in marketing, sales, and customer service. Now, for us, this is something that we're slowly starting to change our persona process, and we're evolving it. We're going away on retreat to sort of go through and evolve this process a little bit more. We really want to, I might read it through here. At a basic level, persona allows you to personalize or target your marketing in different segments of your audience. For example, instead of sending the same lead nurturing emails to everyone in your database, you can segment by buyer persona and tailor your message accordingly to what those are different about the personas. When used correctly, buyer personas can allow you to produce highly targeted content that leads to a higher influx in new and repeat business who are pre-qualified by the data. So I'll give you this as an example. For example, if I'm coming to MaxContacts and I'm a fundraiser, I run a fundraising place, but say MaxContacts hasn't really necessarily gone through the process of their buyer persona. Typically, and agree or disagree with me, Kylie, typically what we would see is, here's our service, this is our price, we cater for all of these different industries, we can have you up and running in 3 months or something like that. Very generic in nature. Though, if I came through and had that same process going, we are a tailored fundraising companies. We help people with six or more people with X amount of dollars. We will cut your, I don't know, I'm going to go through. We're going to cut your call times in half. We're going to cut your response times in half. Here are case studies and testimonials from other fundraising companies. Now, that for me would be far more, and I definitely have a higher chance for conversion because they are speaking the language and the problems that I've currently got. Being generic is all good. Being hyper-targeted and contextual will get people loving your product even more. And hopefully some of us are using HubSpot here today. Well, if not, there's a free CRM. You can sign up there at HubSpot.com. But with HubSpots, you can actually tailor it as it goes through. So if somebody goes ahead and submits a form, there's usually a question that we like to ask. It's like, what best describes you? And in Kylie's instance, it might be, I run a fundraising call center and looking for a solution to help me offer a better service. Or I'm an associations manager looking to do this. Them answering that question will essentially drop them into a persona because it answers that sort of question of where they are. Then we can contextualize the communications that go through and be able to sort of get a quicker conversion, or in the same breath also get rid of the people for a negative persona that don't necessarily meet the criteria. And that's probably what you were talking about, Kylie, with, being confident, but when you strike gold and it's a perfect persona, you just like, it just is energy. I don't know, there's electricity in the air when it happens.
Yeah. And it's smooth and the whole process is enjoyable. And it's
and
really
speaking
good.
the same language too. And,
Yep.
do you know what? I think I think what we're talking about here is trust. I think that the trust is instantly sort of, ticked in their box because everything that they're looking for, you have. So, the trust, it's ticking every single box so that those barriers to come down or some of them have definitely sort of dropped down quite considerably.
And with sales, it's a relationship. All sales, people buy a person, they buy the relationship. And if they can see that you are genuine and you know your product and you're confident about your product and you're very clear as to why your product is superior in the market, and you build that trust and relationship because you're genuine, then that relationship's a lot nicer both ways.
I've got a question for you, Kylie, from Jacinta. What sort of persona details do you find useful from like a sales perspective?
Well, just with the buyer personas, it's not just about the title or that they have. So whether it's a marketing manager, or what we found is that it's different attitudes and consumer behavior. So from, just as an example, the fundraising industry have different priorities around their selection process. It's all around ethical behavior. It's about compliance. So you need to be, we're now compliant with the Fundraising Association. We've done all the accreditation because that's very important in the values of that sort of buyer persona. But then you've got a mortgage broker, financial planners, and they're cutthroat. They're like, no, I'm going to get this deal over any other mortgage broker. And it's about results. And I don't care how I get that results. Like, it's a completely different attitude. I'm generalizing here, of course. So even around the buyer personas, it's not just about industry or position. It's about an attitude, I suppose, as well, and the values within different buying personas that you also got to look at in the buying decisions and selection process.
Yeah, it's funny because when you got a general manager in our sense, you kind of almost want to get straight to the point where, and commercials straight up, let's get going, where, potentially someone in marketing or sales kind of wants to explore a little bit with you, learn a little bit in the process. Just a very different way to sort of sell, I guess. So
yeah.
So I did a bit of research, and it shows that companies that use buyer personas are 2 to 5 websites are 2 to 5 times more effective. Personalized emails have a 14% click-through rate higher, and conversion rates are around 10% higher. So, who knows, the built confidence that you have in your product as well could potentially shoot it up even more. Big question I always get: where to start with personas? So we're going to strap yourself in. Please also ask heaps of questions, because I know a lot of people like to. They ask me this: where to first step to really understand our personas and get started. So I'm going to step through it step by step. Questions, Q&A is open, ready to rock and roll. So for those pros out there, hold up, forgot to put this one in. If you have personas in place, it's usually a good idea to follow the same process when updating these. Don't zone out to say, hey, I've done personas before, It's very important that you follow the same process over and over again. It doesn't matter how old you are, we follow the same process. We've tacked a few different things on through times, which we'll talk about shortly, but it's kind of like follow this same process every single time, and it doesn't matter how big or small you are of a business, just follow the same process and it will all be good. I did write here, personas do change over time, and so does your business. As your business grows and gets bigger and has more complexities, so will the needs of the customers that come to the door. And are you going to meet those goals, or are you basically going to push them away? So it might change a little bit as well. First step, getting started. So I always like to do a very general sense of the questions. And now when we sort of have these questions internally, or we do them with clients or whatnot, we'll go through and get through a very general sense of what their profession is, typical day at work, where they go for information, how do they obtain the goods and services, what do they value most, what are their goals. And these for me are very general. They're sort of demographic, sort of an idea of kind of very roughly who this person is. So, you know, in our instance, it might be a marketing manager, you know, he or she, mostly she, percentile, might be usually a woman or a man. They're usually kind of around 30 to 40 years old. Roughly what income have they got? Are they married? Have they got kids? Do they read, you know, the newspaper? Do they consume news.com? Where are they consuming that information? Because it's really important to know that information from a paid media sense, also from an SEO sense. If you get hyper targeted into exactly who that person is, these buyer personas are not only good for you, but it's also good for the partners of the agencies that you might be working with, that you could give it to them, and it will fast track their discovery process tenfold because it's got exactly what they've got to do on their side. They have a more holistic idea as well about how that customer flows through the business. So I always ask these questions within a workshop, if you will. So if you guys are doing this at home, not at home, in your own business or whatnot, sit down and put aside about an hour actually, and basically ask questions about who these specific customers are. And I go into detail in a couple of slides about how we do it internally, and I can run you through that. But usually what we like to do is go through, get a big list of all of the customers, and then basically go through as a team and start to answer these questions. Then what I start to do is start to get a really good idea about, okay, well, you know, 60% of the people we deal with are marketing and sales people, and they generally earn between sort of 80 to 150 grand per year. Oh, that's good. They've mostly got kids. It's really good to understand that, because when you start writing the content, when you start talking on video, I know that Kylie, you've started to do a lot more webinars and video content. You to the customer, and you know, if I know that, you know, every single one of the people that we're trying to target has kids, I will start to bring, you know, talk about kids and talk about how that could make their day a little bit easier to make, so they can spend more time with their kids. So it's really good to sort of generally know who those people are from a very general sense. After we have done that, we do the second step. So this is kind of, I guess, where we're evolving a little bit, our process. And we wouldn't know this if we haven't been doing it for about 4.5 years. Because as a business, we're evolving a little bit. We're becoming a little bit specialized in certain areas. So for us, we split into different departments of the business. So most businesses would have a marketing, sales, and service function. Service being doing of the work. Kylie, for you, it's your current customers, the current subscribed customers using the platform. At each of these stages, the behavior of the persona is a little bit different. So for example, the behavior on how they find you, the behavior on how they're sold to, and obviously behavior on how they work with you. It's really important, and I'm going to say behavior a lot, because these are the behaviors that we need to start. Because if we know the behaviors, we know the challenges and the goals within each of these steps, we can then personalize, become a lot more confident about how we sell our product or service. But also, I think I put in the last one, doing that 1% extra when you've got them as customers will not only stick them around for life, but you'll start to get referral traffic as well, because you truly do know that person and how they like to be serviced and how they like to be spoken to. You have the demographics and psychographics. So let's break down the behavior into each of the departments of the business. For those Schitt's Creek lovers out there, there's a little gift for you. But what we're moving into is really splitting these into 3 departments. So in the past, we've actually gone through here and said, okay, let's go ahead and set up a buyer persona. And I think in the past, Liv has gone ahead and put one big A3 sheet of paper. And we've gone through and put everything there. And that's really, really good. And that's great for us, because we started to understand our video marketing strategy, our email marketing strategy, SEO, paid media. It's all really defined around that. But as we're starting to grow as a business, we're starting to evolve a little bit. So what we'll be seeing throughout Neighbourhood in the next sort of in the new year for our new buyer persona process is really sort of looking into, cool, we've got our demographic and psychographics. Now let's start digging into the behaviors of each of these sort of 3 different modules of marketing, sales, and service. And that will get us even more detail into how to market, so that Cam knows exactly how to post on social and what to write. He knows what articles to write because they're searching for specific keywords. I know how to convert because I know that they like to see a lot of graphs and case studies, and they like to book via a meeting link and whatnot. That way, every department has a very, very crystal idea about exactly who that customer is, and ultimately help them, because you don't want to waste their time and you don't want to waste your own time. So you've got everything ready to rock and roll right there and then. The trust has been pulled down and you basically go into sell. So let's split these into different departments. If there are any questions on that? No. Okay, good. I'll just keep on going with my tangents. So the marketing personas. So these are the questions that you can ask when basically talking about the marketing aspect of your business. What is the usual lead source for the persona? Do they engage with tools, webinars, chatbots, videos, blog content, etc.? How often do they consume your content before reaching out to sales? Do they react well to nurture emails? Do they prefer SMS? PPC, do they come in this way? What ads are they looking at? What ads are they usually clicking on? Landing pages, what value are they seeing at the awareness, consideration, decision phase? Like I sort of mentioned before, we're trying to get very, very, very clear on what is the usual path for this certain persona that we go through. And it essentially will help us with our marketing strategy. In turn, with rolling this out, you can build effective content marketing strategies by focusing on keyword research efforts. So your SEO would be a lot more hyper-targeted than it would be if you just basically go quite broad. You can identify and prioritize the most relevant promotional activities, segment your email list by sending targeted offers to buyers based on their preferences, time your marketing campaigns for peak engagement rates, publishing content and advertisements on channels, paid social media, aligning messages to promote brand unity and increase brand awareness, personalize your marketing automation efforts, and refine your copywriting to reflect improved SEO strategies. I will stop on that last one too, not only for SEO strategies, but it's also for the person that's going through the marketing journey with you. You're talking their language. If you are on the HubSpot CMS, you can smart content and change the dynamic, what is actually spoken about on your website if you've got that there. Is there anything there, Kylie, that you would, sorry, I'm on mute, but is there anything there as well that you'd add that would sort of help the persona in the first stage of the marketing?
I suppose it's getting that real connection and click through. So you'll find that if you really, and you know yourself, you're flicking through LinkedIn, you're flicking through Facebook, and unless it really pinpoints or you connect to it, you're not going to click through. So it's about that marketing, I think, is really understanding what's going to hook me and what's going to make me click through to that link or click through to that webinar or sign up because you've really got my interest. Because you're just bombarded with so much marketing. So if you're very specific, then chances are that you'll get, more successful with your hooks. Yeah,
I think the copywriting is a big one. When we move into sales personas, a few things that you could ask yourself as well, and throw some in, Kylie, if you think there might be some good ones for people to take away. Do they usually book meetings? Are they a caller? Are they an emailer? We've got someone at the moment who hates emails, only likes calls. And then I've got someone else that only books meetings and they don't communicate on email. It's really quite strange. But what products or services do they usually need from you? So you could basically start segmenting out that usually this persona usually purchases this type of product. A good one, the sales velocity, or how long are they in the sales process? Is this persona usually on average 5 days, or are they 30 days? How quick are they coming through? Because you could have a think about it to say, okay, if we're in a position where we need to drum up some sales because it's been a bit of a slow month, we've got this data here. We can actually sit here and say, okay, well, we've got 25 persona ones in here at the moment. We know that their sales velocity is actually a lot quicker. Let's reach out to them and see if we can't help them out and give them an offer or potentially just touch base with them and help them out. What sales enablement tools do you use frequently with these guys? So are you using case studies, videos? Are you using any sort of PDF handout? Demos is a good one to go through. And what tools are they using to help convert them a little bit more? Because if you know that, then we could create an automation workflow that would give them those things automatically based on behavior. What are the common objections? I think that's a really strong one as well, Kylie. I think if you know already before you come to the party, already what they're going to be throwing back at you, you can have your ducks in a row ready to rock and roll, which I think would just, if anything, give more trust to them that you can just answer that question without having to go away and think about it or work it out as well.
Yeah, and I think as long as you know some of the barriers to conversion and you include that and be proactive in your first demo, you actually then become a leader and a teacher. And then they look up to you as a reference to go, oh, so we've done a lot of demos and we've included a number of different features that they go, oh, I didn't realize that existed, or, oh, I didn't realize I could do that. Oh, that'd be easy. And so, and then they go away and they create this full project plan based on everything that you've given them. And it's like, so I've actually created more work for myself by being proactive. But I think it does show a level of confidence, I suppose. If you sort of present it at the beginning, you kind of know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing I like to ask, and again, if anyone's got any ideas as well for sales, that's meant to be sales personas, my apologies. Feel free to throw it in the chat as well. I think giving people more and more ideas to help them out with their business would be awesome. But the AOV, or the average order value, usually as well, is that you're trying to get a very clear picture on what sales strategy is going to help them to see your service and product to help them solve their problem. Solve the big part. Help. And I think that fundamentally, if anything, I don't think I've sold in 2 to 3 years. I've helped people get in the right direction. If we're right to work together, that's cool. If we're not, that's fine. Hopefully I've made a difference in your life, and hopefully you'll say some good things to the next person and good things come around. So a big part of it is about, don't sell your service or product. Just help them solve their problem and they'll come around, because that trust is probably one of the main things that you need in that sort of sales conversation. Operate a salesperson sales strategy, craft emails, phone calls with potential buyers based on their persona, help build rapport, understand your prospective buyer on a deeper level that allows you to be better prepared. That's probably my best thing, I reckon. I think that if I know the persona idea, I know that I've got to come with the commercials for the general manager. It's got to have a plan. It's got to be very, 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 very tight. And I've got to have it ready to rock and roll on a call. You can guide the messaging sales representatives use with customers, educate the sales team on the different personas to prepare them to work with any type of buyer. I think that's important too. Some people can get, and definitely sales teams can get thrown off by questions that they're completely unaware of, and that would just be show a little bit of distrust. And increase the win rates or the conversion rates for the sales teams as well. Hang on, we've got a little question popping up here. So is there a doc or a guide that shows steps on how to construct, configure personas in HubSpot? That's from Randy. G'day, Randy. There is. I will. Hang on, Cam. Yeah, Cam's on the case at the moment, Randy. So he'll drop in the link in the main chat, general chat, on how to do that. I will say that it probably needs to be a little bit more sexier because it does live within the property. I feel like it could do with a lick of paint, but Cam will throw that in just shortly. Cool, and we're just going to go to the service personas here, just being mindful of time. Some of the service personas, how do they like to communicate day to day? So I think, Kylie, we're both much the same. We've got customers that stay with us for a longer period of time. How do they like to communicate? Are they, I know, Kylie, you like to chat. It'd be good if I know that I need to talk to you, give you a call, and they would probably get a lot.
Put aside at least half an hour.
But there's some people that just don't like to chat. There's some people that just want emails or structured emails or structured meetings or anything like that. Are they hard work? Are they high touch? That's really a good one, because usually that means you just need to be a little bit more prepared. Do they need more support than other personas? Is this going to be a bit more of an educational sort of engagement rather than they'll run off with it and go for it? Do they submit tickets? What's the expected response time? And I think that's really important to sort of be setting expectations with them. And if you know what those sort of expectations are quite roughly, then, you know, there's going to be minimal friction, if you will. I think, Cam, you have just put, there it is. Oh, they're the persona templates, mate. Just on the knowledge base on how to insert personas inside HubSpot. What he has actually sent you there, persona templates, which I was going to give you shortly, but there you go, cat's out of the bag. That's there for you right now. Going through some of the questions, what are some cross-sell opportunities? How long do they stay around for? Will they leave reviews? I really, and this is probably one area that I'm super passionate about, is that just giving that 1% extra, like just giving world-class service. And it's that stuff that you sit there and you go, you didn't need to. And that stuff for me, and I don't know, I'm pretty sure everyone's like, that just actually leaves a really good taste in my mouth to be like, they care about their customers and they're sort of, and they're there to catch them if they need be. So I think if any this workshop, it's like this point here, a lot of customers and bringing a lot of people within the business, but they don't sort of think about how to keep them around, leave reviews, cross-sell, referrals and things like that. And if there's anything that I can sort of stress on, it's this one here, because I think that experience world-class with them interacting with it. You don't need to do any marketing. They'll just come referred to the front door. So it's something that I could say, make sure you take away from.
Yeah, that service persona is very important for us, because once they become a partner or a client, we then need to onboard them. So that onboarding process and that step by step is very different depending on the type of organization. So we have to look at that persona and say, okay, well, this is the onboard. We need very structured step-by-step onboarding to make sure they understand all parts of the program of the software platform. Because if they don't understand it, they're not going to use it. They're not going to get the benefit out of the product itself. So that's really important for us, is that service persona.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Randy, we've got, and anyone else that's here too, we've got the how to add and edit personas within HubSpot. So the link is there for those that want to insert those. Just remember as well, if you are, when you are using HubSpot as well, all form submissions, it's usually a really good best practice to add another property field, maybe saying what best describes you and then creating best describes them as that persona. Making sure that in that form submission workflow that you set the persona as the property field there as well. So look, if you guys are completely just spoken, you had no idea what I just said, just feel free to reach out to us. You can write back to one of the emails from the HubSpot user groups that you'll get, also from the recording for today. But if you are struggling to understand how to like attach a persona, just a really high level again, go through on the form, make sure you add a custom property there that says what best describes you. Then on the workflow, as you go through, make sure you tag that persona as that person goes through with that property there as well. So there we go. Using sort of persona-driven strategy in customer service, you can involve your customer service representatives in the buyer persona creation process to gain valuable insights. Cross departments talking about customers is super. We do a sales and marketing alignment workshop where basically get marketing and sales. Naturally, they're like cat and dog. They hate each other. The leads aren't good enough from the salespeople, and the salespeople can't close the leads. It's really important to get that relationship really, really well, because then they can start sharing feedback from it. Here's a really good example that if you've got people on the ground, like our digital strategists here at Neighbourhood, it's really good to get their input, because they could give us some insights that we wouldn't know at the front end here of the snake, that would sit there and be like, okay, so that person is really great. They might seem a bit stressful at the start, but once you educate them, they're actually a really, really great customer. So getting that insight from the service areas is probably really good for the business too. You can gain deeper insight into the day-to-day of each persona, reflect on how marketers and sales teams use it to create a holistic approach to each new customer, kind of what I was sort of saying before. Train on specific problems of your customers trying to solve and be prepared to solve them. Use empathy and compassion to best support your customers based on their persona as well. So I did talk about it before, and I said it before a little bit with at the start, the negative personas. So it's really important to look out for these guys because, and this is a little bit of what I was sort of saying before, is that you could try and oversell somebody who just isn't going to sell at all. And I think it's really important that when you go through your buyer persona workshops and you're asking those questions, it's so good to stop and say, let's talk about the ones that didn't go so well. And what are some of the behaviors that they have from a marketing, sales, and service standpoint that we probably need to look out for? Because if we know these people, it means marketing, don't write about that stuff. Sales, don't close that person. And the service people, why did you give us that customer in the first place? So it's really important to step through and basically try and identify who are the people we really don't want to. Now, I will tell you, in our tenature of doing this for X amount of years, usually within a business, you usually shake out, give or take a couple of one or two, 5 personas, one of which is going to be a negative persona. 6 and 7 and one that's had 4, the negative persona. But generally speaking, 5 is usually where we land up after we get all that data, one of which is going to be that negative persona. Now, I'll tell you right now, our negative persona is the entrepreneur, the person that has all of these ideas, isn't just doesn't have necessarily a lot of money, is waiting on funding from certain people, too busy to answer the call, too busy to work on the project. We personally have identified that this person isn't who we want to work with. Not because we don't want to, it's just that our products and services fit for them, because we need someone that's diligent, that's going to want to sit down and make a concerted effort into what we're doing for them and make it great. And those people aren't good for us. Kylie, I think I asked you actually at the start, have you got an idea of who your negative persona was? I didn't do my homework.
No, that's all right. It was more the way I addressed it before was those that don't qualify, I suppose, and not wasting time on those people that don't qualify and sort of put them on that. We actually, in part of our HubSpot pipeline, have got a back burner. Yeah. So we actually pop them in the back burner and don't even stress and don't worry about them until they're ready to pop up again.
They might be back again soon.
Yeah. But I suppose I've only been with MaxContact for 6 months. And we've really focused on fundraising. So we've done really well in converting in that specific industry. So I haven't really branched out, but
it sounds like anyone less than 6 is pretty much a good flag for you straight away to say, what?
Yeah, straight away. It's kind of like, I just don't waste time and just put them on a back burner until they get a bit bigger or whatever. But I suppose it could be the same as your entrepreneur. It could be that really tech savvy type. I want to lead the industry in the call center 2050 and what it's going to be like, and I want you to throw it all in, and I want you to develop it all and spend $50,000 in development, but I don't know whether I'm going to buy it. And that person that's kind of all over the shop and wants everything, but isn't actually.
I think we've all got those people.
It hasn't been invented yet, but I kind of want it, and I want you to come up with it, and I'm not going to pay for it, and and all over the shop. So you end up bending over backwards and speaking to the tech team and speaking to this and suppliers and partners, and then in the end they just go, oh no, it's all too hard, we've decided to stay with what we've got. And it's kind of like, suppose those type of people.
No, I agree with you. There's I think that there's that person, and I think they grow out of it. Like, I think we've all been there, whether you're a business owner or in sales of the company. We've all been there when you start out small. You've got big dreams, but the pocket might not be deep enough, and the experience might not be there as well. So it's a good idea. They might be back, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So how do we roll it out? I'm going to do it very, very quickly. I think I just did it all in one screen here. So in most cases, conduct a workshop with all relevant stakeholders internally within the business. Facilitate a workshop to understand the last 12 months of clients and customers, all customers. What we'd like to do is break down the behaviors of these customers and then pull them into sort of persona based on the outcome. So just very, very roughly, there's a whiteboard here. You can throw them all on the whiteboard and how you go. Then we sort of create questionnaires for sort of other staff members. And I know Jacinta is listening to this at the moment, who's currently going through and doing our personas here at Neighbourhood. sending out specific questionnaires. And I think she sent one out yesterday or the day before yesterday that's really going through and asking the people that do the work, Geordie and Dom and everybody here and Liv, that sit there and do the work day in, day out, the questions that are going to help her form who we are and who the personas are. And I think that Jacinta's also booked a meeting with Cameron, myself, and Liv to sit down from a marketing and sales standpoint and ask questions around that too. So what she's trying to do is getting a really wide angle on what's everyone's comments on the people that we do business with for the last 12 months. We can conduct customer calls to ensure that the findings are in fact correct. Some people like to do that, some people don't. Some people just send out an email saying, can you fill this out? Phone calls are a great way to get the answer straight away. They'll give you the answers straight up, no bull crap, if they answer your call. I know a person that can help you with that. Update the marketing and sales process to tag and report on personas. And this is what I was talking about before inside HubSpot. Make sure when you roll them out, load them into HubSpot and make sure they're getting tagged effectively so you can start to see what kind of personas you're starting to attract. And you'll find as you go through, it'll start to change. I remember when we first started, it was very entrepreneur. We had very heavy entrepreneur and very heavy owner. But now we're moving a little bit more to the sales manager and the marketing manager person as well. And it's kind of changing how we market out and sell our business as well. Big thing is design up the personas and share them with the company and external partners. This is very good for SEO and SEM agencies. That means that they'll be able to target the people you want ASAP very quickly because you're doing all the hard work for them. It's always good to put them on the walls as well. Similar. The tools. So Cam, it is your time to shine again. So what I wanted to do, the buy persona template is located there. Maybe throw it back up there again if you want. And then HubSpot has actually got a really great, where are we? I'm going to try and show you here. You see that? So HubSpot's got a really great tool that you guys can use as well. I will go through and put it in the chat bot here. But if you're just getting started, this is what I recommend. You can learn a little bit more about buyer personas, or you can have a click on the new personas and start to build Billy the Kid, or Bill the Kid. And you can go through and actually start building these out. The good thing with these is once you've gone ahead and start building these out, it'll actually provide you the PDF or I think it's the PowerPoint or something like that. That being said, it is fairly broad. So it's not really, and you can sort of add new sections. It's a little bit hard to, but that's why I'm sort of saying if you go ahead and you're sort of just starting, you can go ahead and sort of use this to get going. And like I said, you know, you're using this and you're gradually evolving this as, you know, every sort of 6 months if you're sort of using it through. So I put it in the chat. Hopefully it's in the right spot. Oh, yeah, Cameron's pinned it to the top there. We will also send it in the email out with the recording as well. So was there any questions? I am 10 minutes over, which is pretty good in my call. Any questions, Kylie?
No, I'm good.
Cool. All right. Well, that wraps it up today. Hopefully, I've at least given some insight into buyer personas, why they're important, how to implement them, even talking with Kylie a little bit too around how, you know, in a real life situation and not necessarily just on a PowerPoint presentation, how it's changed a little bit. I know we've got a lot of work to do with you Kylie, and with Dan as well. Like as the product grows and everything goes, we've got to go through and evolve the messaging, the content. It's a Rubik's Cube you never solve, but continually improving, I think, is going to be really important to sort of becoming the best in class in your industry. So
yeah. It provides that focus you need, because otherwise you're here, there, and everywhere. The buyer persona, you can really focus and create some good marketing and sales action plans.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's it from us. This is the last hug for. I will let you know, we did sort of get in touch and we did ask if we can have in-person hugs for next year. Usually these hugs are in person, so you're actually be able to sit down, go to a pub and have a few beers or whatever, and go through and actually meet a lot of other HubSpot users as well that also use the platform and ask them how they do things. So keep an eye out. We should know end of January exactly kind of like what's happening. But thanks, Kylie, for coming on. You've been epic. I'll put you on the spot about your party tricks. And
Haven't been to a party in a long time. I've just stopped the partying, unfortunately.
well, the borders are opening now, so we can have a party face to
Yeah,
face.
hopefully Queensland will open.
But thank you so much, and thanks to everybody who came this year. Hopefully we provided some insight. Just want to give a big shout out to Liv as well. I know she's not here; she's out there, who conducted some of the hugs as well this year. She's done such a great job, and hopefully we can go through and give more insights on how to use the platform and whatnot. So if you've got any ideas around what you'd like to hear more of, please reach out. But thanks again, Kylie.
Thank you.
No worries, guys. Have
See
a
you
great
soon.
Christmas. See you later. Bye.